Hello, my name is Paul Shelley, the AstroPub. Welcome to the Inforunners. That's Execute.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that gets the fingers backwards.
I get it all as well. The Osiris, and then that's of course Algared. Welcome to Fix My Fleet. This is where we take in your fleets or other things and change it around to try to help you out with kind of understanding more about the packages and how the system works. This is a little different. And before I continue, remember to subscribe, join the Discord, do the Patreon thing, comment down below, because we all go down through the comments. We read every single one, and we're very, very careful about it. We love to hear conversations from you guys. It's all about conversations. This is a special one, so I will ask you guys to go easy on the comments because it is very important that what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about Algared's fleet. This is not a fixed fleet. He is fine with his fleet. I will repeat, this is not a fixing fleet. This is more of a explanation. We've all been doing these just because we kind of want to explain our own thought processes behind our fleets. With that, we'll hand it over to Algared. And the first question I want to ask you, Algared, is where did you start? Where was your beginning in Star Citizen with these packages?
Well, for me, the start was hearing about Star Citizen for the first time when I was looking for a space sim, finally getting the information of where it was, and watching Chris Roberts' introductory video. And for me, that was Croy McClure. Hi, I'm Croy McClure. You might remember me from such games as Wing Commander. And I was in. And then I checked out the ships using the ship matrix, and we all laugh at that now because we know how bad that is. And I picked a Constellation for me and my mates, and an Aurora for my personal flying ship because the parts were interchangeable. Awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great. Back in 2014.
How times have changed.
And then I realized, this $300 ship has 3 months insurance. Oh, beep. And that started the snowball, the desire to get LTI, that mythical comfort blanket to keep people safe, because I knew at some point I'd have no money and I'd take my ship out and it'd get destroyed, and oh my beep, I've lost.
You forgot to re-up the insurance, yeah.
That's right. And so that started the snowball.
I'll add the next one and I'll let the other guys jump in with their own questions. So that's how it started the snowball, the whole LTI thing. But what, first off, I'll let these guys talk about it, but how many ships do you own?
I think it last
you don't have to give numbers, just give just a general idea for that so they understand how many ships you have.
Over 100, and every ship that's in game.
So you own every ship that's in game, at least one of every ship that's in game?
So
at least one of every ship.
So that's why there's no fixing the fleet, because he's got everything.
He's got the Armada.
Yeah.
I've got the whole Armada.
Right.
So, yeah.
We'll just let that sink in. But yeah. Look, I
think Osiris is shell shock there.
I get some things to say.
Just a little bit jealous. I think we're all slightly a little bit jealous.
Shell shocked or half asleep. I'm not sure which.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say, first of all, thank you for your service.
He has single-handedly paid several people's salaries. Yes.
In all seriousness, though, a lot of us remember, and newer backers won't remember this, but a lot of us old timers will remember when there was some question as to whether or not Star Citizen would succeed as a project, and the fact that it's gotten to this point is due in large part to the enthusiastic support of people who have been here since the beginning. So, Algared has done a lot for this community.
Yep.
Insanely so, but yeah.
Well, one man's insanity is another man's passion. So, I don't have a problem with that, and I know one of the things I know Algared does do now. So when a new ship comes out, Algared, and you want it, what do you do in that regards? If there's a new ship that comes out that you want,
I recycle, melt things that I don't need, that are surplus to needs, because I do have some ships that are multiples, and then buy what I want. So yeah.
So the question is how are you able to manage such a big fleet? I mean, you're not buying every ship individually, right? So you're
I
not
need
buying,
lots of friends.
But I mean, like you're not like a new ship comes out, you don't just buy a new ship and that kind of stuff, right? You use the package system at all for like that's available for a lot of concierge packers?
Yeah, well, what I realized early on is when they were talking about multiple NPCs was that if you had a game pack, they could actually have a personalized NPC, which would be loyal to you. You'd still have to pay him, but they were always there. And you could always use them as other players. You could even make them as inherit your fleet or your possessions if you died. And that was a huge bonus. But a lot of the game packages also had UEC. And so depending on the game package, you could actually increase your starting UEC significantly. So the 2949 Explorers pack came with a game pack and 20,000 UEC. It gave you a whole pile of ships you could use to upgrade. And so getting several of those packs could actually really set you up quite nicely economically at the start of the game. And so I use that. And it also gave you a pool of NPCs you could use to help you run those or man those turrets on those ships that were turret based. So that was probably one of the factors that influenced.
So is there anything else that the factors you talked about UEC and you talked about like those kind of things and LTI? You're not telling me there's nothing else secretly hidden in the back that you really wanted? That makes a bartender jealous?
Yes. Early on, I did decide I wanted to have the Millie My High Club, and the place to get that was either the Wing Commander pack or the Completionist pack. And I decided, right, I'll get the Completionist pack. One of the things it had in there was the Idris M. It also had the Scythe. It also had 2-3 days with Chris Roberts. And in those days, what you could do if you knew you weren't going to cash in those days with Chris Roberts is you could exchange them for ships and of cash value. And I was talking to Chelsea at the time, and Chelsea said, "Hey, we're going to be changing these packs. You might want to hold off." And so I held off, and then they released the Javelin, and that, curse you, Chris Roberts, was the first Javelin.
The first. Do I in danger ask how many Javelins you own?
Okay, I currently own 3.
Okay, 3.
I currently own 3.
As people might recall, he recently thought he had 2 and found the third.
The third one.
Was it so big he lost one?
That's right. The idea was, the second one was actually the ship that crossed over the $100 million mark.
And that's a really important thing that you've done too. And they gave you a scythe for that too, didn't they? Because you were the person that made us cross the $1 million threshold. But what'd they give you for 200 million? Because you also got us across that one as well. What'd they give you for that?
The same thing everyone else got.
Nothing.
I got we got
the shirts.
If you got
the shirts,
and you also got the little $200 million coin in game. And I got a mention in 5 seconds of fame.
You did get a shout out.
Yeah.
Did they give you like an MVP badge or anything like that? That would have been nice.
I can't recall. I spoke to Sandy. I think when I did that, I was joking with Sandy and said, "Hey, do I get a moon?" And she did offer me Crusader, and I knocked it back because they'd already strip mined it, so it wasn't worth having.
Oh, jeez.
I know, foolish. But seriously,
could have all those space whales, Algared.
I know. Osiris.
Yeah, something had occurred to me. I got a 2-part question for you, and then depending on your answer, I'll follow up with that. But you're an officer in a fairly large org, aren't you?
I am.
Approximately how many people are in the org?
Currently, there are 1,023 people.
Okay, so you got about 1,000
people.
Not
all of them are active, but yeah, we've currently got 1,023 members.
I know that you're largely happy with your fleet, but if you are contemplating things to do with it, you're in something of a unique position, obviously, given the level of your investment in this game, and also the fact that you are an officer in a pretty sizable org. One thing that might be worth pondering is keeping all of your like unique ships, the one-offs and the special ships that really speak to you, and then melting everything down and getting a really top-heavy fleet. Like we just kind of poked fun at you for 3 javelins, but that kind of makes sense in your situation because you're in an organization that could reasonably stand to crew those kind of ships. You could get several javelins and Krakens and Idrises, and
or
you
sell
could
them
put
off
them
in
to good
game.
use.
Well,
Sorry.
And I say that in part because, like, part of the value of an organization, the reason why you would join an organization is to get access to group play that you can't do yourself. And so I think that would really create value for your org if you were able to offer that like sort of top heavy fleet for what
Well,
I don't know what sort of gameplay you guys are interested in, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
that was kind of one of the things I was thinking of. Certainly when I acquired the Javelin. The idea of the Javelin was that this would be an ideal ship for us to use to give the org purpose. It's a stripped down hull. We need to rebuild it. We've got this ship. Let's pool our resources. Let's work together to get this ship back up to speed. And so that was one of the ideas I always saw as a Javelin back in the day when there were only 200 of them in game.
One thing I'll add is I'm actually in the same org as Algared, and I will tell Algared, I'm pretty sure Algared's the same, going to agree with me on this, but our org's actually got more Javelins than we can crew.
I've got more Javelins than we can crew.
We're going to get rid of them.
Yeah, volunteers. Yeah, so we would only need 11 javelins to hold 1,000 people, and we've got way more than that. We've got very many ships in our org. It's the other person that's actually would be known to this show is Hayes. Hayes is also in that org as well. So there's some very, and not to mention any names, but there are a lot of big spenders in that org as well. So yeah.
Oh, that's because most of us are Australians, and Australians are, I think, at one point we were the third highest, highest per capita.
Per capita, we are
supporters of the game.
We are.
I would also like to put in some historical kind of context for this as well. Was that one of the reasons why was because for the longest time it was cheaper for the Australians to purchase the ships than most other people in the community.
Yes.
Because of the exchange rate.
Yes.
How the exchange rate worked. So
back in the time when Algared picked in at 2014, it was almost on the dollar. Now it's like 60 cents on the dollar, and we also have 10% GST. So you factor those in, and it's terrible at the moment. But say you wanted to cash out and get rid of your ships, that would be an excellent time because you would almost essentially done a bit of long-term investment and double your money.
And there is certainly at this point in time, there is a problem with game packages. So people who have got individual ships can cash out those ships quite easily at the moment. They sell off a ship, no problem. The downside of game packages there's 2 downsides. One is CCUing those ships into other ships. It really is a nightmare. You muck up a CCU, it can muck up the whole thing. One of my nightmare situations was I mucked up a CCU in the completionist pack. At that time you needed CIG to help you undo those types of things because you had to melt a package over $1,000. And the concierge help that I had that wasn't Chelsea or one of the awesome people who are usually there basically said, yeah, I can do that, but I'm going to take your Million Mile High Club if we do. And I went, beep. Yeah, I can see the deadpan faces, and that was exactly my response as well.
Yeah. There are some, I think everyone can relate to swing and misses at customer support service.
When talking with CIG recently, one of the things they did when they were talking to us about, hey, upgrade to the new Legatus pack. Now, for a person who has a completionist pack, to upgrade to that pack, you actually lose significant amounts of cash. It's just not worth it. But I did actually make the decision to make that change over, mainly because I had the funds there. It was a reduction of packages and other things, and it just made things easier. But one of the holdbacks was, well, if we upgrade, we're losing some of those benefits. The Million Mile High Club, we're losing other aspects as well. And so CIG actually took the Million Mile High Club out of all those packages and actually made it an individual item in those packs because, as they said, you guys backed early. You guys bought the pack in. You bought it in the pack. We're taking it out so you don't lose it. So,
Algared, I also think you should probably mention like something that affected me and you, which is the way changing the way to the gift card works as well, because that's how you and I used to put cash aside. So just mention that very briefly, because that kind of actually eventually slowed you down in a way, didn't it? So
it saved me.
They kind of shot the golden goose. So you should probably explain why you kind of stopped buying as much as you did. So
what I used to do is fund my gaming by just spending my hobby money. I'd buy a ship, I'd buy a gift card, and I'd just every fortnight I'd spend $50 or $100 or whatever it was I had spare for that fortnight, and I'd buy a gift card, support the game, keep the wheels churning. Ship comes out, you melt your gift cards, use your credits to buy the ship, no worries. When CIG decided, brain spasm, we'll have war bonds, we'll give them a discount, and we'll get all this extra cash, I no longer had a reason to buy gift cards. And so I just stopped. I have not bought a gift card since then.
Bad move, CIG.
Yeah, I really think it's affected them more than they realize, because Algared's 100%. That's how I used to do it. Because
CIG, you killed the cash cow.
And because you were able to put the cash aside and have it sitting there for when the next ship came out, you were like, I've got heaps of sitting there, I'll just buy that.
Yeah. And
now,
because you're also only putting 100 here, 50 there, 25, it just built up. You didn't pay attention to it. And then you'd buy a ship, and again, because it was already there, you'd buy a $500 ship.
But
you didn't feel the hit.
But now you actually have to think about it, and you're like, well, I can't afford to put out $250 this week. I maybe could next week, but I can't this week. So I just unfortunately can't get it, or I don't really need it as much as I need this other ship. And so basically, in a way, they've kind of slowed the amount of money that comes in. I really think they need to, like, I probably shouldn't say this, but I think they need to have a separate system for the gift cards. When that cash comes in, it can be used as fresh cash. They need to kind of have like a fresh cash and like an expired cash. I don't know how to name this, but do you know what I mean? Like, it needs to come when you buy a gift card, it needs to be considered cash.
We're kind of getting off topic here, but I think it's a good. I do think that it's a good context to understand like why Algared has one ship of one ship from like every ship in the game, yet isn't a multimillionaire. Isn't raking in.
No, I'm just an everyday teacher, So
yeah,
you know what it's like.
Teacher salary. He's doing it on teacher salaries. Just put it that way. Yeah. So it's entirely possible for people to, because it's similar. Like most of my stuff is purchased because of giveaways. So I don't give away huge ships. I give away like starter packs and stuff like that. But I end up having my account is $15K plus in out there just because of all of the other ships I've purchased. So it's very easy, especially if you were early on in the game, to have purchased a lot of stuff without really spending a lot of money like day to day or like week to week or month to month. So
well, before they made the change, I used to buy ships and melt them, and I used to do that so that I could actually unmelt them later on as giveaways. But I don't do that anymore. So again, the changes limited that, and I can understand one of the reasons for that, because it really was playing into the black market and the grey market, and I think you really want to kill that to the benefit of a game and the benefit of players, because the black market and the grey market was really scalping people and playing on people's fears. Oh no, you don't have LTI on this ship. Yeah, we can sell it to you for open a quote, and there's all the ships.
I have one more question for you. I think it's going to be my last question, which is, if you could, would you go back and not spend that much money in the past, like that you already spent? Would you go back and change that? Would there be anything different you would have done now that you've done this? I mean, because at this point, it's you've literally. You were the $100,000. You were the $150,000 or $100 million, $150 million, and $200 million was all yours. So like that's history in itself. But the question is, for me, is more like, would you have done it differently? Would you have bought as much? How would you, looking back now, how would you have changed that, or if you would have changed that?
Yes and no. Like I always when I first saw the video of Chris and Chris sold me on the game, and I knew from Wing Commander this was going to be an awesome game, and so I wanted to support the game. And so for me, some of the purchases I made was when people were saying, "He who shall not be named" was spouting off all his bullshit. Oh, sorry, naughty word. And that actually, in a sense, made me say, "Yeah, well, I'm going to double down," because I knew that this game would be good, and I'd played He Who Should Not Be Named previous games, and they were crap. They were worthless. And even the PU, even the alpha we had, even the old hanger system was better than his games, and that's saying something. And so for me, it was backing the game and backing the project. So would I like to have spent less? As I look back, yeah. But for most of the time, it wasn't a matter of paying 20,000 or whatever it is for a pack, or it was, oh, I've put this in, I've put this in, oh, I've now got that, yeah, I can buy that, and that's really the difference.
So just to be clear, Algared, it was a slow, methodical build at it, but it wasn't like you were going without food or anything to buy these ships, yeah?
No, it didn't change my my way of living at all.
I got a question for Osiris, actually. Knowing these two are school teachers and they've got bigger fleets than us, I'm actually starting to think of Breaking Bad in this scenario here. Like, are we doing something wrong, Osiris? Like,
yeah, I thought
what's
I had
going
a
on?
good job.
Yeah, like,
so all you got to do.
Something you know about teachers.
All you do is not sleep. Either move to Australia and become a teacher, or become a Twitch streamer and
they give you shits for free.
Waste 6 years of your life on a game that's probably a scam. Oh yes, brought it in there. I had to bring the meme in there somewhere. So
yeah,
but yeah. So no, I don't think in many ways I do things differently. I'd hope I'd have less ships. And part of the reason is, like, you buy the big packs and you end up with useless, worthless, crappy ships that have no value. Like, what do you need 5 Auroras for, and 5 Mustangs for, and 5 and all the Auroras and all the Avengers and all the rest of it.
Well, my last question for you, Algared, will be: did you enjoy the journey? Because it sounds like you did.
Oh, hell yeah! You know, that like the time in and the friendships made online has been huge. You know, I wouldn't have met Hayes or you or Paul or Osiris if it wasn't for the game. I wouldn't have met the guys in the org, and we've had numerous org meets.
Yeah, we have indeed.
You know, so
Bar Citizens, we've done a few of those, haven't we?
Yep. And so lots of aspects in that regard in terms of the social aspects of the game that are huge. Is the game frustrating at times? Yeah. Is it an alpha? Yeah. Will it be everything I want it to be? No. Will it be a game that is still setting the boundaries and setting the standards in the future? Absolutely.
I think it already has in a lot of regards.
Yeah, and there's still more to come.
Cyrus, you got any last questions?
I do not.
He's still shell-shocked.
Off to you, Paul Larini. You're driving this one. I can sit back and relax now.
So I've been the AstroPub. He's been Execute. He's been Osiris. He's been Algared. We're the Inforunners, where you can come to get your Star Citizen content, your information, and more. Remember, join our Discord. Talk down below in the comments below. Like, subscribe. It really does help us out because it helps boost those numbers and it lets YouTube know that you like this content. If you don't like it, dislike it. That also helps us a little bit too. So please do spread it when you can too. And we'll see you guys later. Stay safe and see you.
I just want to add, let us know what you think of what Algared's done, and has he done a good thing for the community? I'm sure we're going to hear people saying, "Wow, you spent way too much money," blah blah blah. But I actually want to hear some positive things. Like, are people grateful for people like Algared that have gone kind of beyond in the call, so to speak? Let us know your thoughts below.
We answered the call.
Yeah,
have you?
Pretty much. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care. God bless.
In black.
Hey, Algared, where's my javelin?